Hey guys, it's Dr. May. How are you? I hope you're good. Today we're going to focus on social signaling and how that's important for building connections and relationships. All right, so this is Radically Open DBT lesson 9. Okay, so we're moving right along. This is not a particularly long lesson, but it's an important one. Okay, and throughout Radically Open DBT, they talk about social signaling a lot because it's actually quite important. So they devoted a whole lesson to talk about why social signaling matters. Okay, so we're going to focus on that today. All right, so one of the things that's important about it is that when we signal what we feel and we signal our intentions and motivations and things like that to other people openly, right, it creates a sense of trust because what's on the inside matches what's on the outside. So people could trust what they're seeing in us, and it helps us feel more connected to them and helps them feel more connected to us. So if we want to feel like a sense of belonging and part of a tribe and connected to anybody, it's important for us to be able to express ourselves and show it on our face and show it in our body language. Okay? Because ultimately, when we connect with people, it's because they know who we really are. And they can't really know who we are until we reveal who we are, right? And part of how we reveal it is through our nonverbals, okay? And people tend to believe more about what they see rather than what we say, right? Because like they say, about 70% of communication is nonverbal communication, because that kind of is harder to fake, right? It tends to reveal more about ourselves, right? So we're kind of more of a visual than just eliciting, okay? Nonverbal expressions are better indicators of our true feelings, openness, and cooperative intentions than our verbal communication, right? So therefore, it's important for us to work on our nonverbals a lot so we can kind of convey what we want to convey to other people and kind of build that connection. All right, so because it's so important, we're actually wired up to be good social safety detectors, right? So we can get our little magnifying glass out and without even really thinking about it, we kind of pick up on cues from other people pretty well, right? And when we pick up on the right kind of cues, we're able to feel kind of safe, or feel connected, related, right? Based on other people's nonverbals with us, okay? So when people give signals that show that they're closed, right? In Radically Open DBT, we talk about the dialectic of close and open, right? So when we're closed, we're not showing on the outside what we're feeling on the inside. We're kind of masking our feelings, so to speak, right? So that woman in the picture is showing, let's say, a smile on her mask on the outside, but she's feeling a different way on the inside. And we could pick up when people aren't being authentic in the way they express themselves, right? And we tend to feel a little more uncomfortable around people that aren't genuine in their social signaling, and we feel more tense, and we might even try to avoid them more because they make us feel uncomfortable, and we want to feel comfortable, okay? So if we're open though, right, or we're around people who are open, like the woman on the right looks very genuine, looks very pleasant, she's happy, she's with her dog, right? We tend to trust them more. You know, we feel they're more genuine. We feel more comfortable around them, all right? So we're gonna strive for ourselves to have more open expression, right? So if we're in the habit of hiding what we feel, we're gonna try to become a little more radically open, okay? So that's one of the goals for today, just kind of increasing our awareness of that and getting some tips. Okay, now for a while I was in a Sweet Adeline's course, and it's kind of like a show course, you know, and there was a big emphasis on performance, that we were supposed to feel what we were singing about and show the feeling of the emotion on our face and in our body language and gestures. And it was emphasized all the time, constantly, right? And if you think about it, right, so this is not, neither of these were my chorus, but on the left, look at those people, right? They have a very blank expression while they're singing. You know, they're kind of like vacant in their eyes. You don't know what they're singing about. You don't know what they're really feeling. And on the right, though, which is actually another Sweet Adeline's chorus, but not mine, they're much more expressive, right? They look like they're really into it. They're kind of emoting. And if you think about it, you're probably more inclined to prefer performers who are able to express genuine emotions, not just phone it in and have a phony smile about the song, but to actually kind of feel the song and express it, right? Or if they're dancers, sometimes they say if you're a dancer, you need to dance from the neck up, meaning even though it's your body that's moving, you need to show on your face what's going on with the song and how you're feeling with the music and stuff like that, right? So whether it's an interpersonal interaction or you're on a stage performing and expressing something through the abstract means of dance or singing or some other performance, it's important to have a clear, genuine expression of the feeling, the emotion. Okay, so that's just another example, not in the book, but I decided to throw in. Okay, all right. So what we show on the outside matters. So I'm going to give you 3 examples, and you tell me what you think, or you just think about what you think. If you want to comment, it's up to you. Okay, so let's do scenario 1. So we're going to call this one the affair. So I'm going to just do a little acting for a minute. So we're meeting up, for dinner or something like that. I say, hey, how's it going? Last night I discovered that my husband just had an affair. And you know what else? I found out that he spent all his money on the woman and we're bankrupt. And I was so upset about it, I decided to set fire to the house. Can you pass the salt? Okay. What was it like listening to me, pasting a smile on my face while saying those things? Was it kind of weird? Did it make you feel comfortable, uncomfortable? Right? So sometimes when we're nervous, we tend to over smile and we say things that have nothing to do with the smile. And it makes people feel uncomfortable and weird. Okay? So that's kind of like a mismatch between the inside and the outside. Let's do another one. Okay? Scenario 2, the lotto. Okay? So we're meeting up for dinner again. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm all right. Last night I discovered, I picked up a lottery ticket and all the numbers matched and I won $10 million. Yeah, so yeah, I'm probably gonna buy a new house or maybe invest some of it. Okay, yeah. What are you gonna order today? Okay, so was that weird? Did my outside match what I was saying? So it's also weird if someone has a very blank expression and they're talking about something where more emotion would be appropriate, right? So that's another inside-outside mismatch. Okay, so here's scenario 3. So in this scenario, I want you to imagine that I'm talking to the guy in that picture, okay, about a movie that I just saw. Hey, Joel, how's it going? So last night I saw this really cool movie, and it was pretty exciting actually. It was like an adventure movie, and some parts were really scary, but other parts were actually really funny. Like this one part where the bad guy shot the lady in the pink dress. Oh my God! And I thought she was gonna die, but then it turned out that the bullets were made of Jello. It was so crazy, right? Okay, so if I'm trying to talk about something that's making me excited or making me sad or making whatever, and the other person just staring blankly, not facially responding, that's also something that can make me really uncomfortable, right? People tend to, shrink away from interactions with people who have like no emotion on their face, right? They're supposed to be kind of like facial responsiveness to each other, right? And when there's a lack of facial responsiveness, people start to feel uncomfortable, right? So that's another thing to consider. Like ask yourself, am I somebody that is able to show responsiveness on my face when I listen to somebody? All right. So here's kind of a cycle that happens. So if you have a tendency to inhibit your expression of emotions or mask them in some way, this is kind of unfortunately what tends to happen. So let's start on the left. So let's say you're already feeling a little uncomfortable. Let's say you're socially anxious, you're feeling a little down or depressed, maybe you're struggling with something, right? And now you're going to interact with some people. So because of your emotions, because of your anxieties, your face looks kind of frozen, right? Or you mask your feeling a little bit, or, the affect isn't matching up with what's going on. So someone's talking to you, blah, 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 right? And you're a little bit blank. Okay. So then people start to think of you as kind of like stilted or awkward or inauthentic because, it's not matching up, and maybe even untrustworthy. Because like I said before, when people are trustworthy, they show on the outside what's on the inside, right? So because it makes other people feel uncomfortable, you end up being more socially ostracized. And that kind of contributes to your depression and anxiety, and it keeps the cycle going, okay? And it also is tied into loneliness. Like when you're lonely, you tend to give off those signals of being uncomfortable, and then it kind of makes people pull away. So even though you want to connect with people, you're inadvertently sending out signals that are gonna like make it harder to connect. Oh, all right, but don't worry, this stuff we can do. Okay, so let's look at a different cycle. So this is a cycle that happens when we're able to genuinely and openly express our emotions non-verbally, okay? So if I feel safe and secure and comfortable, it's easier for me to be open about the way I feel and let it show, and to like self-disclose, kind of reveal some of my vulnerabilities perhaps to other people, okay? So when I'm able to do that, people tend to perceive me as more trustworthy and genuine, right? Because I'm kind of being honest with how I'm doing and how I'm feeling, and people can trust that I'm going to share, right? Appropriately, of course. And so it helps with social connection, right? And when I'm more connected, I also feel more safe and secure, and then the cycle continues in a positive spiral. Okay, so see how we could do that? But also, just so you know, we could work on the way we express ourselves non-verbally and help contribute to this positive cycle. So if you struggle with this, it's okay. There's ways to get better at it. Okay, so here's some myths about open expression. Because if you're not used to it, you know, it is a little bit scary at first, a little uncomfortable. You know, maybe we're afraid to reveal what's on the inside, right? Or we don't trust the other person very well, and it's hard to show them what we, you know, are experiencing. Okay, so I can understand that, right? All right, so here's some myths that we might hold that would possibly, sorry, get in the way. My little window's in the way. So open expression doesn't mean expressing emotions without awareness or consideration, okay? It's kind of like being honest but kind, you know, like true honesty is sharing what you think in a gentle way, not using it as a weapon, okay? So like, let's say the guy on the right up here is, you know, expressing his emotions, but he doesn't seem to be very considerate of the other guy, right? So that's not what we're talking about here. You're gonna express yourself appropriately and with respect for the other person. So therefore, open expression does not mean uncontrolled venting or blaming, okay? It doesn't mean like let loose and be nasty, like, you know, I'm gonna tell you what I really think. All right, so it's open, but again, appropriate, right? So we're still owning up to our feelings. We're not blaming people for how we feel, but we can still share it, okay? Because the way we react is our business. It has nothing to do with other people, right? They didn't make us feel any way. We ended up interpreting the situation in such a way that we're feeling that way, okay? All right, next. They put this in the book, but to me it's clear, but I guess it's not clear to other people. So open expression does not mean pretending that everything's okay when it's not. Because obviously that's kind of inauthentic, right? That's like putting a mask on instead of being authentic. But they did include it, so just in case that's what you're thinking, that's not open expression. Okay, it's not just being positive, because if you don't feel positive and you're being positive, you're not being so open. Okay, so finally, there's no right or wrong ways to socially signal. Okay, so everyone's unique, right? We all have our own style, and you know, you may not have to do it exactly like I do it, for example, but in your own way. The idea is to be open about how you're feeling and show it in your nonverbals. Okay, so the idea is to be clear about it and clear about your intentions and inner experience, however that manifests for you. Okay. All right, so here's some examples, right? When you express yourself, it's not like you have to be 100% open all the time or not open at all, right? There's like shades of gray, so to speak, you know? So there's times when being a little more open is appropriate, and there's times when being a little more closed is appropriate, right? So we have to consider the relationship we're in and the context we're in, okay? Because it's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. So let's say we're on the left and two girlfriends hanging out, and you know, they're kind of close, they trust each other, and maybe they're comfortable being open with each other and how they're feeling and what's going on, right? Second scenario, you're being arrested for something. Maybe you don't want to openly express your feelings to the cop. Maybe this is a time to be more closed, and that's appropriate. Okay, you have a right to remain silent for a reason. Okay, next one. Let's say you're in a more formal board meeting, and as you know, some of your superiors are there or whatever, and you got to be very professional. You may want to be a little bit more reserved, perhaps. Okay. However, if you're at a fun party, like on the bottom left, you might want to just let loose for a while and have that flexibility, right? So the idea is to have some, you know, some leeway within yourself, some expansion of your repertoire. So you have the ability to be closed when it's necessary to be closed, and the ability to be open when it's important to be open, right? So it's not like you're being closed across all situations or being open across all situations, okay? So let's keep going. So middle bottom picture, you're at a poker tournament. So notoriously at a poker tournament, you don't want to show expression on your face because it can give away what's in your hand, right? So people practice being closed to be good at poker, right? So there it is appropriate. However, you're on The Price is Right and you get $1 on the big wheel, you might want to jump up and down for joy because you're really happy about it. That's okay, right? They expect people to do that. People get excited on game shows all the time, right? It's part of what happens. It's fun to watch, right? Okay, so most importantly, to build relationships, open expression is necessary to create intimate bonds, right? So whether it's a friendship or a romantic partnership or whatever, right? We have to learn how to be open in order to connect with the other person, okay? So we have to reveal vulnerability in some way, right? And that requires some trust because we have to trust that when we reveal vulnerability, the person is going to validate us and treat the information respectfully and not use it against us, right? And when they do that, it builds trust, okay? So when we connect with people, in addition to revealing the good stuff and the successes that we have, we should also gradually get comfortable revealing our secret doubts and our fears and some things, places where we messed up a little bit, and reveal some of our humanness, okay? And the idea is that, you know, we all feel human on the inside. We know we're flawed. We know we're not perfect. And when someone else reveals that too, we feel like, oh, good, I'm not alone. Good, you're human too. And so therefore, we have this bond of being imperfect together. And that helps the connection, okay? All right, so here's a practice you can try. Okay, get my head out of the way so it doesn't mix up with the other heads. So if you're trying to get better at open expression, try to find a situation that's coming up. And let's say you realize you're trying to express something, but you're used to being a little bit closed. So think about what you want to express and try to like turn up the volume a little bit in terms of, you know, the expressiveness, right? So if you're used to like a very small smile, maybe make it a little bit of a bigger smile. If you're used to looking a little worried, maybe look a little bit more worried, right? So turn up the volume a little bit, try that out, maybe enhance your gestures a little bit more. So if you're feeling socially anxious, you might have very small gestures. So maybe try a little bit bigger gestures, see how that feels. Okay, so we're gonna gradually, you know, get a little bit more open. So we have to actually try it. We can't just talk about it. So keep this in mind, see where you could practice it, and then check in with yourself, see how it went, right? See how it felt and how other people responded, all right? So a little bit at a time, you know, we could make some progress. Okay, so hope this gives you some ideas about social signaling, okay? Okay, those are my final signals. Okay, thanks for listening, everybody, and I'll see you next time.